December 16th, 2025. A reporter asks Vice President J.D. Vance about being called a conspiracy theorist. Most politicians would deny it, laugh it off, call it a smear. Not Vance. Instead, he said this: "Sometimes I am a conspiracy theorist, but I only believe in the conspiracy theories that are true." Then he listed examples: COVID masks on toddlers, Biden's hidden decline, political opponents thrown in jail. All things he claimed were conspiracy theories until they weren't. Quote, "A conspiracy theory is just something that was true 6 months before the media admitted it." So here's the question. Is J.D. Vance a conspiracy theorist, or is he just early? Because if you look at what he's saying now, some of it sounds absolutely insane. European nuclear weapons falling into the wrong hands, Islamist politicians taking over France and Britain, a meme coin based on his dog surging 100%. But then again, 6 months ago, people thought COVID came from a bat, that Biden was sharp as a tack, that no one would use lawfare against political enemies. Vance was right about all of that. So what if he's right about this stuff too? Let's break it down, because this isn't just about one politician's beliefs. It's about how we decide what's real, what's crazy, and what's just inconvenient truth. The Vanity Fair article dropped on December 16th. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles had called Vance a conspiracy theorist. The media pounced. They asked him about it during an event in Pennsylvania. And Vance didn't flinch. He leaned in, he owned it, and then he did something brilliant. He flipped the script. For example, he said, "I believed in the crazy conspiracy theory back in 2020 that it was stupid to mask 3-year-olds at the height of the COVID pandemic, that we should actually let them develop some language skills." Pause. Let that sink in. At the time, questioning mask mandates for toddlers was considered dangerous misinformation. Social media platforms removed posts about it. Experts shamed anyone who raised concerns. But now, studies show masks did impair language development in young children. Multiple states and countries have admitted the policy was flawed. The science changed, or rather the narrative caught up. Vance continued, "I believed in this crazy conspiracy theory that the media and the government were covering up the fact that Joe Biden was clearly unable to do the job." Again, at the time, if you suggested Biden had cognitive issues, you were labeled a right-wing extremist. Jake Tapper at CNN dismissed it as conspiracy mongering. Then came the debate, June 27, 2024. Biden's performance shocked the world. Within weeks, he dropped out of the race. The media admitted what everyone could see. He wasn't fit. Vance was right, 6 months early. Third example. I believed in the conspiracy theory that Joe Biden was trying to throw his political opponents in jail rather than win an argument against them. Federal indictments, state prosecutions, raid on Mar-a-Lago. At the time, the media called it justice. Vance called it lawfare. Now, even some Democrats admit the prosecutions looked politically motivated. The cases fell apart. Trump won anyway. Vance was right. Again. So when he says, quote, "A conspiracy theory is just something that was true 6 months before the media admitted it," he's not just being snarky. He's documenting a pattern. The question is, what's he saying now that might be true in 6 months? Let's look at the wildest one, Europe's nuclear weapons. On December 20th, Vance gave an interview to Unheard, a British publication. He was asked about Europe, immigration, the future of the transatlantic alliance, and he said something that made European leaders lose their minds. Quote, "France and Britain have nuclear weapons. If they allow themselves to be overwhelmed with very destructive moral ideas, then you allow nuclear weapons to fall in the hands of people who can actually cause very, very serious harm to the United States." He went further.
He claimed that, quote, Islamist-aligned or Islamist-adjacent people hold office in European countries right now. He predicted that within 15 years, maybe even 5, someone with Islamist-adjacent views could have significant influence in a European nuclear power like France or the UK. And that, he said, is, quote, a very direct threat to the United States of America. The reaction was swift. European politicians called it offensive, insulting, dangerous. Critics accused Vance of trafficking in Great Replacement theory, a far-right conspiracy about demographics. The Guardian called it Islamophobic. Al Jazeera said it exposed America's imperialist mindset. French commentators said Vance was suggesting that European democracy itself was a threat to America. So is this just racist fear-mongering, or is there something here? Let's look at the facts. Not Vance's claims, the facts. France and the UK do have nuclear weapons. That's undisputed. Immigration in Europe has changed demographics. That's also undisputed. The debate is about what that means. Vance's argument is that if immigration continues at current rates without assimilation, you could see political shifts. And if those shifts lead to leaders who don't share Western values, and those leaders have access to nuclear weapons, that's a problem for America. Now, whether you agree with that or not, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's a geopolitical hypothesis, a controversial one, but not baseless. France and the UK have seen the rise of political movements on both the far right and the far left, driven partly by immigration debates. The UK has seen similar dynamics. These are real political forces. Is Vance exaggerating the timeline? Maybe. But is the underlying concern that dramatic demographic and political change could affect allied nuclear powers completely irrational? That's the question, and it's one historians and strategists have debated for decades. What makes Vance different is that he's saying it out loud, as vice president, to a foreign outlet. That's either reckless or brutally honest, depending on your perspective. And here's the kicker. If 15 years from now, Europe does experience political upheaval driven by immigration and cultural conflict, and it does affect NATO and transatlantic security, Vance will point back to this interview and say, "I told you so," just like he did with COVID masks and Biden and lawfare. But let's move to something even weirder, the meme coin. On December 26th, an influencer account called Whale Insider posted to its 625,000 followers that a cryptocurrency called Atlas had surged 100% in 24 hours. Atlas, named after J.D. Vance's dog, a German shepherd who's become a minor celebrity, appearing at events, interviews, even getting his own media segments. Now, meme coins are nothing new. Celebrities launch them all the time. Trump launched one. Melania launched one. Argentine President Javier Milei promoted one. They all crashed. But Atlas is different because it's not officially connected to Vance. It's just inspired by his dog, and someone made a lot of money. Enter Bubble Maps, a blockchain analytics platform. They investigated Atlas and found something disturbing. 68 wallets with coordinated behavior control 47% of the token's supply, worth about $1 million. These wallets were funded through ChangeNow, a crypto exchange that doesn't require identity verification. They showed no prior activity, they were funded in tight time windows, they received similar amounts of Ethereum, and they all bought Atlas tokens immediately at launch. Classic insider trading, or in crypto terms, a pump and dump. Someone knew Atlas was about to surge. They coordinated, they bought in, they promoted it. Retail investors piled in, the price spiked, and now those 68 wallets can sell, crash the price, and walk away with profits. Is J.D. Vance involved? There's zero evidence of that. He's never mentioned the coin, never promoted it, never acknowledged it. But his dog's name is being used to manipulate markets. And that raises questions. If you're the vice president and someone's running a scam using your pet's name, Do you have a responsibility to say something, to warn people? Or is it just the wild west of crypto and caveat emptor? Either way, it's bizarre. The vice president's dog has a cryptocurrency, it surged 100%, insiders made money, and nobody's talking about it, except blockchain detectives. If that's not conspiracy theory adjacent, what is? But here's where it all comes together. America Fest, December 19th through 22nd, Phoenix, Arizona, Turning Point USA's annual conservative conference, the first one without Charlie Kirk. And Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow and new TPUSA CEO, opened the event by saying this, quote, "We are going to get my husband's friend J.D. Vance elected for 48 in the most resounding way possible." 48, as in the 48th president in 2028. Vance is already being positioned for a presidential run 3 years out, with the backing of one of the most powerful grassroots conservative organizations in America. And what did Vance talk about in his speech? He talked about Charlie, about honoring his legacy, about not tearing each other apart with purity tests, about building, not canceling. He also said this, quote, "In America, you don't have to apologize for being white anymore." The crowd went wild. The media lost it. Accusations of white nationalism, racism, fascism. But Vance didn't back down. He doubled down. He said America is a Christian nation, that the only requirement for the conservative movement is to be a great American patriot. He said, quote, "Every American is invited. We don't care if you're white or black, rich or poor, young or old, controversial or boring." So, which is it? Is Vance race baiting, or is he trying to build a multiracial coalition while rejecting DEI?
The answer probably depends on who you ask, but what's undeniable is that he's positioning himself for power, for 2028, and he's doing it by owning the controversial stuff, not running from it. Conspiracy theorist? Sure, if that means questioning official narratives before they collapse. Islamophobe? Maybe. If that means warning about geopolitical risks most people won't say out loud. Crypto grifter adjacent? Possibly. If that means his dog's name is being used for pump and dump schemes. Presidential frontrunner? Absolutely. Because here's the thing about J.D. Vance. Whether you love him or hate him, he's playing a different game. Most politicians avoid controversy. They stick to talking points. They deny, deflect, distract. Vance does the opposite. He says the quiet part out loud. He embraces the conspiracy theorist label. He warns about nuclear weapons in Europe. He lets people make meme coins about his dog without comment. And when the media attacks him for it, he smiles and he waits. Because if history is any guide, 6 months from now, some of what he's saying today will be proven right. Maybe not all of it, but enough. COVID masks on toddlers? He was right. Biden's decline? He was right. Lawfare? He was right. European political instability driven by immigration? We'll see. Nuclear security concerns? We'll see. The Atlas meme coin crash leaving retail investors broke? Probably. But the meta question is this. At what point does being consistently early stop being conspiracy theory and start being pattern recognition? At what point does saying uncomfortable truths become leadership instead of extremism? And at what point do we, the public, have to admit that maybe, just maybe, the people calling things conspiracy theories are the ones who don't want to face reality? Vance isn't asking you to believe everything he says. He's asking you to question everything the media says. And in an age where the media called Hunter Biden's laptop Russian disinformation, where they said COVID couldn't have come from a lab, where they insisted Biden was fine until the debate proved otherwise, maybe that's not such a crazy ask. So, is J.D. Vance a conspiracy theorist? Yes, by his own admission. Is he also the Vice President of the United States? Yes. Will he be the Republican nominee in 2028? Probably.
And will the things he's saying today, the things that sound insane right now, turn out to be true in 6 months? Some of them? Almost certainly. Because that's the pattern. That's what he does. He says it early, gets attacked, and then waits for reality to catch up. The only question is, how much of it will you believe and how early?